Hi everyone. My name is Gwyneth and today I'm going to be discussing mariachi music, the quintessential music of Mexico. So, okay, what is mariachi? You may have heard a little bit here and there throughout your life, but what is it really? It's a Mexican style of band music that often has between 8 to 12 players, predominantly men. There are a few groups that are mixed and some that are all women's even, but historically speaking, even up through today, it is still mainly men. The most common instruments that you will see are violins, guitars, guitarrons, which is this really big, large bass guitar, 6-string bass guitar, and a vihuela, which is a Mexican 5-string guitar that is tuned as though it were a lute. So it's a guitar, but tuned like a lute. You also have trumpets, sometimes a harp, and of course, sometimes you have other instruments included as well. The most common musics played by them, usually Mexican folk musics, romance songs, boleros, things like that. Mariachi is not actually a type of music, it's just a style in which it is played. It's very complicated, the lines here. So it's not a music in and of itself. Also, mariachi players tend to dress up as charros, or Mexican cowboys in a romanticized version. So if you think about it, they have the big sombrero, they have all the bells and whistles on their outfits. That is a romanticized cowboy. All right, and here we have our first musical example. This is by Mariachi Vargas de Tecaliban. Sorry about the ad. So that's an excellent example just of what mariachi is. Often the songs tell a story, often they're used in serenading, all kinds of things like that. That video is one of the most perfect examples I've seen. So now to the origins of mariachi. It did not really emerge as a musical style until 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, same time about as jazz and big band music were getting really big in the United States. Actually, some of the influences for big band did influence mariachi. The word mariachi, it's very disputed where it actually came from. Some people say that it came from the French word mirage for marriage, while the French owned Mexico during the reign of Napoleon. But others say it was a term for a stage in the old Aztec language. So it's really up in the air. Etymologists have not yet discovered exactly where it came from. The most popular group that helped solidify mariachi was that band you just saw, Mariachi Vargas de Tecalitlán, which continues to have members today, continues to operate today. Obviously, the original members are not still in it anymore or have passed on, but it continues to perform and to put out quality mariachi music. They're considered the top of the line. The film industry, the recording industry, the radio industries really helped mariachi become big, especially after the push for Mexican nationalism after the Mexican Revolution. And it's kind of like sort of the Grand Ole Opry in the United States. Without the radio, would it really be as big today as it is? So the fact that there was radio, that there was recordings, that there were films made with mariachi really helped strengthen mariachi in Mexico. And now we go to our next musical example, which is an older recording, a much older recording.
Cuando un amigo se va, queda un espacio vacío que no lo puedes llenar. La llegada de otro amigo, cuando un amigo se va, queda un tizón sentido.
Even in just that, though, you could tell how varied mariachi is. If you compare it to the other mariachi song we just heard, they're widely different in tempo, in accompaniment, in what's going on. So it's amazing to see how varied it is. That's actually one of the more famous mariachi pieces. So why is mariachi important? Why does it matter? It's actually a very essential part of Mexican culture. We often in the United States may say, oh, well, maybe that's just a stereotype about Mexicans that we have because we're not in Mexico, stuff like that. It's actually not. It amazed me to realize that people all the time, or at least frequently in Mexico, will hire mariachi bands for serenades, whether it be for Mother's Day, for a loved one, for a friend, for all kinds of things. There are mariachi bands that just professionally have themselves out for hire, just to do this type of stuff, all the time. And I really, really appreciated Peter Standish's comment on this when he says, begin quote, "Stereotypical though it may seem, it should not be thought that mariachi music has become merely a spectacle for tourists. On the contrary, it is a ubiquitous feature of the social life in a country where popular music seems to be everywhere." And I feel like that's also why mariachi is so varied, so complex, is because it is a normal part of people's lives on a large scale. And this next musical example will help show that to some extent. This is actually their most Mariachi Bar Harvesting's most recent video.
No tengo aire, ni tengo suelo, tampoco tengo ganas de olvidar que era el centro del universo. No pido que otra llene su lugar. Este dolor no se me quita ni tomando. Déjenme solo, que me estoy desbaratando. Déjenme morir.
showed the guitarron right there. So it's really astounding to see how influential it is within Mexican culture. At the same time, it's very important in international culture. It has helped bring Mexico and its music, its food, its people, its culture to the more international scene. It's very widespread throughout the United States, especially because of its close proximity, and it has become an influential part of media, especially children's media, which I thought was interesting. For example, we have a lot of Mexican Tex-Mex restaurants that will play mariachi music, whether in the background, you might see some of it on the televisions, in the bars, all kinds of things like that. There's Cinco de Mayo, which some Americans do celebrate, along with their Mexican brothers and sisters. And then there are a lot of movies, again, on the children's scale. There's Disney Pixar's Coco, which centers around a little boy exploring his heritage, which deals a lot with mariachi music. There are mariachi pieces played multiple times in the film. There's 20th Century Fox's The Book of Life, which deals with Dia de los Muertos more than mariachi. It does not specifically go to mariachi. But one of the main characters does sing and play music, and that helps him get through the conflict of the plot. Even Sony's Hotel Transylvania, which has absolutely nothing to do with mariachi, has a skeleton mariachi band playing in the foyer of the hotel. Even in television shows, The Tonight Show, they went through a mariachi skit, and my personal childhood favorite, Phineas and Ferb, had mariachi multiple times, including one that wouldn't make any sense at first. It's the episode One Good Scare Ought to Do It, in which Phineas and Ferb build a haunted house. At the beginning of that episode, though, they started out with what they realized later was a bit frivolous idea, the amazing mariachi tree. And in a later episode, they also have the Mexican Jewish festival, which they are involved in. So I have an endnote after this and some bibliography, but to sum it up really, mariachi is the quintessential music of Mexico. It defines Mexican culture in a way that I did not realize or understand before. And it defines the way people perceive Mexico even outside of Mexico. So its influence is profound and outstanding. Thank you. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Yes, any questions?
Well, since I missed the beginning part, I'm just curious, what is mariachi?
What is what?
Since I missed the beginning part,
Yeah.
what is mariachi meaning?
Mariachi, the term, we're not sure where it came from. Some people say it came from French when the French invaded Mexico and ruled it for a while. Other people say it was an old Aztec term. So there's no official, what does mariachi mean? It is basically just a way of playing music. It's not actually a type of music, but it's a way of playing it. Any other questions? Yes?
So in mariachi, do they really just play like just Western instruments, or they don't play the indigenous like instruments?
Yes and no. The vihuela is sort of an indigenous instrument. It's not in the way though, like it's not an Aztec, it's not from the native peoples of the area, but it was invented and developed over time by the mestizos and people of Spanish and Mexican blood together. Same thing with the guitarron. You don't usually see these instruments outside of Mexico very much. Hopefully that answers your question. Anything else? All right, thank you.